Welcome, welcome. Today we have a request for the front placket, the hidden front button placket. There's numerous reasons why it's used. I love it. I think it's so pretty, it's so feminine, it's so soft. But let me show you a couple photos and we can talk about why it's used. So this first one is just when you have a really high contrast between the placket and the blouse itself, and you really don't want to take away from that high contrast. Buttons would be another level that you'd have to worry about or match, and it's just easier not to have to, so that hidden front placket is used. This next picture we see where it's a border print, and again the border we want it to be clean and nice. We don't want it to have any additional layers of design on it, and so we just keep it simple and we do that hidden placket. Then this last one, as you can see, we're contrasting fabric again, and yet it's just an easy way to keep the contrasting clean and simple. But I want to show you a couple other reasons. Like in my case, it's just a solid and I could have used a placket just as easily, but it's really clean and simple. It's very clean. And again, the buttons don't take away from the lines of the blouse or the colors of the blouse. It allows jewelry to be a little more on display rather than contrasting with the buttons. And also in really high-end blouses, and I didn't see any examples of this, we see where the print matches all the way across. It even matches through the placket. So again, very high-end blouses where they're being placed specifically. So let's take a look at not just why we do it, but how we do it. We had a pattern a little while ago, and many of you may have this pattern. It's pattern number 300, Sharon's blouse, and Sharon's blouse had an invisible front placket on it. My thought was you could take it off of that and move it to others, but it was a little bit different. So, and every blouse you'll do is a little bit different, so just know these are kind of generic rules, and then you can take them and figure them out from there. Today I used pattern 600. It's a classic blouse. Most of you have it. It's very easy. You fit it. You've made it a zillion times. So now what you can do is just make it with a front hidden placket, which is exactly what I did. All right, so let's look at the pattern changes. And I want to go through these pattern changes with you. Very easy to do. It took me maybe 20-30 minutes to do the pattern changes. So this is not a lot. You've already got your pieces. The only piece I'm changing is the right front. The right front. The left front is cut exactly as is. There's no changes to it. I even did the front placket, the front facing just like it is underneath. You're not going to even see that. And so it doesn't need any changes. So it's the right side that's going to have always has the buttonholes anyway. And so that's the side we're going to change. So you can look at the picture, you can follow along. I'm going to do it either way. So what you want to see is this is the original pattern. And you can see I traced it up to this line. Then I put the facing on up to this line. And what I left in between was 2.5 inches all the way down. So 2.5 inches is what I needed to make this front placket. There are different widths of front placket out there, so you may do this one time and say, nope, I like it narrower, I like it wider, and you'll make changes to that. But right now, just kind of follow these, get the drift of how it's done, and then you can go from there. So that's it. That's just all cut as one piece. That's your pattern work. Now again, the left side is not changed. It's left exactly as it is, and this is the right side that we're changing, and only the right side. All right, so now we go through a little bit of folding exercises. And I'm going to go to the next photo here and show you the way we fold it. That's all the pattern changes, yeah. So you can see it's really pretty simple to do the pattern work for it. The sewing changes are that we're going to do 2 folds and a stitch and then a press. And so the first fold we're going to fold this back. And I drew these fold lines on the photo themselves so that you could see where they are and why they are and the color they are. Okay, but the first fold basically is what duplicates and mirror images the 2 necklines together. So if you open it up and fold it back where they duplicate themselves, that's the first fold line. I gave a mathematical placement for it here, but that's just logically what you're going to do. You're gonna fold it there. Okay. The second fold line is actually going to be right at the original front of the blouse. Not the center front of the blouse, the original front cut line of the blouse. So if I put this here, you can see that there's the original front of this pattern. Again, not the center front of the blouse, it's the original cut line of the front blouse. That's going to be my next fold line. So my first fold line is I'm folding wrong sides together. My second fold line though is because I've got right sides everywhere. I'm folding the right sides together and I'm folding that amount back. So those are my two folds, very simple to do. My next step is a stitch, and I'm going to stitch right on the center front line of the blouse, the original blouse. And what I do is I just clip at the top when I've got these markings, and I clip at the bottom. And then once I've started stitched here, I just keep in mind how far I am away. You know, usually your plate has little numbers on it, so just follow that number all the way down, and that's where you're going to stitch. You're literally going to stitch all the way down the center front. And if you think about it, it's very logical because the center front of the blouse is where the buttonhole extension is added. So I'm sewing at the center front because the buttonhole extension is added, you know, on the other side of that center front line. And then once I've stitched, I'm going to press this back, and that's it. That's it, because the buttonholes themselves are going to go in this portion. All right, and then they're going to fold, and they're going to be not seen by the front. Okay, so just a few tips. You want to make sure, just like in the original, that you finish off this edge. Okay, that edge is finished just as serged or finished, however you would normally do it. This now, once you've got this done, you see that you're back to the original neckline edge. So there's no changes to the collar, there's no changes to anything else. It's just this front. You're gonna fold wrong sides together, fold right sides together, stitch, and then fold this stitching back. Okay, that's it. All right, now I wanted you to see that if you decided, let's just talk about a couple variables. If you decided you want to do a contrasting placket, a hidden placket, you can't do it all in one, obviously, because they're using two different fabrics. And so you're going to make a seam, and that seam is at the purple line. You can see on this. And it's actually, the seam is at the original center front of the blouse, not the cut line now, the center front. You cut it there, you add seam allowance to both sides, and you seam it so that as you start this folding process, this is one fabric and this is another fabric. And there is a lot of fun things. I mean, the sky's the limit on how many things you could do with that. But I just kind of wanted to show it to you. My darts haven't changed. I added length to my blouse just because I wanted it to be a little longer, and I wanted it to, you know, I just really wanted it to be a casual blouse. This particular fabric I used, I just put it up this morning, and I don't know what number it is. But it's 100% rayon, beautiful to sew on, but it's got a sheen back side to it, and I thought that'd be really pretty on the cuffs. So I went ahead and used the matte side. It's a satin weave. The matte side was my main color, and then I folded up the sleeves, and then you can see I've got a little bit of the sheen there. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was once you fold and stitch and fold back, this little piece back here, this next photo will show you, if you put the blouse on just at that point, say you do the buttonholes and you go to button them, that top flap has a tendency to kind of flap. It won't necessarily stay to the side you want it. So look at this photo and you can see that they've gone back and done little tiny stitches above the button, below the button, you know, in between each one. I did that on this. I did it just with tone on tone stitching. The only thing I want to caution you is where you put those stitches. If you put them too close to the buttons, then it's hard to get the button done and undone. So you want to space them equidistant from the buttons between the next one, and that way it's very easy to get in and button and unbutton your blouse. The placket doesn't get in the way. So that's it. I mean, it's just so easy. It's so fun to do. It's such a beautiful change. So I hope you enjoy. I just love it. I think it's so pretty. And I really appreciate the suggestion because, gosh, I just didn't think of it. So thanks, you guys. I appreciate the suggestions that you do. All right, so any other questions, just shoot me, just put it at the description in the bottom and I'll come in and answer them if you have any questions. But if you just go through boom, 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 I think you'll find it a lot of fun. Happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns.